can, play any type of game that need to be played, whichever week.
Here's Allen taken to the right, going to the end zone. And who else? Gabe Davis with the touchdown catch on the opening drive.
I think it's going to go very well, and I plan to have a long career. I think I got a good 5 or 6 more years in me, so I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
I done did it before, going to teams that didn't really have it all the way together. Then, early years, a new head coach and stuff, you got to deal with just that early year. But, I know this team, is moving forward, moving up.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
We are definitely moving forward. I don't know if we're moving up. Time will tell on that one. I'm not necessarily talking about us here on Jaguars Today. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
How are things?
All good.
Okay, you haven't panic reacted to the Stephon Diggs news, have you?
No.
You haven't mentally traded away Trevor Lawrence and started fresh?
No, I've watched the portions of the fan base that want to react to it that way over the last 24 hours.
Yeah, look, Stephon Diggs is a good player, and some of it is I see out there, well, the market's set now. An elite receiver will cost you a second-round pick. Well, no, that's not necessarily
an elite receiver
the
making
case.
All the noise that is 30 years old, and there were
and
other
has
factors.
done this scheme before, and talked his way out, which and may have asked for his way out in this one. Apparently had interest. Specifically, he and Mixon were talking after Joe Mixon signed in Houston, get me to Houston or things to that effect, it appears. So, you could say, oh, well, why didn't Balky get this deal done? Well, I think for one thing, is Stephon Diggs the right fit in Jacksonville? I don't know. I don't know if he'll be the right fit in Houston. Do I think they're a better team on paper today? Yes.
Yes.
And do I think what we said yesterday is probably true, that Stephon Diggs is on his best behavior for a year? Likely so, right? But he has been a malcontent at times. And last year, the Buffalo Bills were better the less they targeted him. The record is better win percentage-wise when he got less than 10 targets. Over 10 targets, they were just And over the last, I think, 11 games of the season, Tone, I added it up, he averaged a little over 51 yards a game, right? And that was after they shifted coordinators. And remember, they started slowly. And I think he had 4 or 5 100-yard games in the first 5 or 6. He had all but one was a 100-yard game. I want to say it was 4 out of 5. I guess it was 5 out of 6 because the last 11 then is where he averaged the 51. So is he that guy that he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Maybe not. He's still dangerous, though, and he's better than anybody Houston had as their third receiver, to be sure. So if he slots in ahead of Tank Dell, and he and Nico Collins are the top two, and that makes Dell the third, that makes him a really dangerous receiver group.
For sure. Look, it's Houston is doing in this offseason what a bunch of Jaguars fans wanted to see the Jaguars do last year and coming into this year.
With the exception of Houston came in with top 4 cap space in the league.
There's obviously a difference between where Houston was and where Jacksonville was last year. But what they wanted to see was somebody get aggressive doing something.
Sure.
Right? In Jacksonville last year. And instead, they told you over and over, it's like, we feel good with what we have. We feel good with what we have. We don't need to add a third pass rusher. Caleb can do that job. I don't know why everyone's upset about any of this. Right? I can understand Jaguars fans' frustrations looking back a year ago and them not having done any of this. But like you said, it's the Jags didn't have the same opportunity that Houston had.
Well, they certainly couldn't have added a Danielle Hunter-level player, a Stephon Diggs-level player. And when I say level player, I mean the contracts that come along with these guys.
They did all
Joe
that the year
Mixon
before.
level player. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they got to the divisional round of the
and
playoffs having done it.
Right.
Yeah.
Took a big step forward, and you expected further growth out of those guys. Look, they were too complacent last year, regardless of the cap space.
Yes.
Right. And it's not like we're saying it now. I mean, it felt like a day didn't go by that we didn't talk about pass rush last offseason, and needing to get more and what are they going to do. And it turned out the top 2 guys were spectacular when it was all said and done. I'm sorry, 27.5 sacks is is exceeded almost anybody's reasonable expectations.
Yeah. And despite all that, we still all picked them to win the division. We still all thought that they were as competitive as any team in the AFC
we thought
for
they'd
a
build
Super
on
Bowl
what
appearance, right? All those things are still true. I still, you can laugh at me, and that's fine. I did. I picked them 16-1 when we did the schedule thing last year, right? And that's, it's dumb. In hindsight, it's really dumb to have done that kind of thing. And look, Houston's going to be the team that's getting all the love Jacksonville got last year. They're going to get it all.
Absolutely.
Every bit of that love that Jacksonville got last season, it's all going to go to Houston this year. They're already talking about this is the team that can compete with Kansas City in the AFC, right? Everyone's already talking about that with the Houston Texans. We'll see if they can live up to all of those expectations this year or not. I don't look at the AFC South and where Houston is and where Jacksonville is and the division going into this season, right? We're still April. Right? Draft hadn't even happened yet. I don't look at the AFC South as a done deal yet. I think that there is enough talent in Jacksonville that I can see a way they can win the division this year. Right? I don't think it's something that you just hand to Houston. And it feels like yesterday the fan base, at least a large portion of it, was willing to say, well, now that's done. What else can we look at? It's like, guys, it's not done.
If Stephon Diggs is so irreplaceable, why are the Bills feeling like they can replace him and not even really getting anything significant to replace him this year?
Yeah.
Right? The main piece that they get, I guess the piece that they get is next year because they're including a couple of picks along with Stephon Diggs. Take him off our hands. Now, again, if he's on his best behavior, he thrived early in his career in Buffalo.
I think he will be.
He may do the same thing in Houston.
Yeah.
Is he still the same player that he was? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. He certainly seemed to be at the beginning of the year last year, right? But will problems crop up with him? I'm not sure. How do the Jaguars respond? I think that's been a big part of the conversation for the really less than 24 hours now since his deal went down.
Yeah.
And, again, we're 3 weeks out from the draft. They can't solve everything with what they do in the first round or in one draft or whatever. This is the major team addition that you're going to see unless they swing a trade at this point for some NFL veteran. You're probably, you may see a signing here or there to backfill. All right, we didn't get such and such in the draft. We didn't get as much at this position as we thought, so let's go back in and get some camp bodies in here. But it's not going to be much that moves the needle beyond that. And it may just be the picks themselves. And let's keep in mind, last year, Anton Harrison, really good. Was able to start every game. Couple of guys maybe who we hope emerge this year, but they didn't get a whole lot of impact last year out of the draft class at all after the first round. Will they be able to do it this year? Don't know. But we're asking people today, what do you want to see them do? Which of these scenarios, at least, is most appealing to you right now for the Jaguars as things stand now? And I think there's a lot of reaction. Hey, look, they got Diggs. We got to get a corner. We have to get a corner. What are we doing? We need a corner. Or got to get a wide receiver. Got to keep up in the arms race, Tony. And if we get one and he's really good, we're going to be paying him a lot less than they're paying Stephon Diggs, and this is going to be fantastic. Those are a couple of the scenarios, and they're likely ones. I mean, they're certainly within the likely range if they stay at 17. That's the question. We hear a lot of people saying, I want to see Bulky be bold. Move up. All right, well, here's the cost for you. To get to number 9, and we use 9 and 4 as the two linchpin spots right here. If you get to 9, and you probably wouldn't do it until 9 is on the clock, but if you get to 9, there's a chance that one of the big 3 receivers is there. How much do you separate? Let's say it's Rome Odunze because he's probably the most likely of the 3, and I've seen I think Jeremiah had Odunze ranked ahead of Malik Neighbors, right, in his top 50. But let's say Odunze's there. The cost to get there, according to the Pro Football Reference draft chart, there are a lot of variations of draft charts out there, right? So the one that Bulky and everybody else is going off of may be slightly different, but it's something like 1,370 points with the Jags' 17th pick and 48th pick combined. The 9th pick is worth $1,350. So maybe you get back like a 7th rounder or something like that. But it's basically you're giving up the 1st and 2nd to get up to 9. If you want to get up to 4, now you're talking about getting any receiver you want. If you want Marvin Harrison Jr., you want Malik Neighbors, if that's the apple of your eye, then it's probably going to cost you this year's 1st and next year's 1st and maybe something more. But figure that's at least the minimum of what you're giving up. Is this year's first, next year's first? Maybe you feel like it's worth it to get a guy of, like, say, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s capability, right? And lineage and all those different things. And he's been seen as the top receiver prospect in this draft for a while. Whether that turns out to be the case, that's one thing. We'll find out. So would you want to trade into the top 10, knowing there are going to be different prices depending on where you land in the top 10? You're not getting into the top 3. You don't want to get to the top 3. The idea would be to move up, likely, I assume, for a wide receiver, but trade into the top 10, take the best corner available at 17, which might mean Terry and Arnold and Quinion Mitchell are off the board. Okay? Take the best wide receiver at 17. That's a dangerous one, because what if Brian Thomas isn't there? What if you don't like Brian Thomas nearly as much as you like the top 3? Who is that next best receiver? Is it Adonai Mitchell? Is it Xavier Worthy?
And Adonai may be the guy you like more.
And
anyway.
maybe it is. And that's
okay.
fine. And if you feel that way, then that's a good selection for you. Or is it something else, which could be just about anything? If you say take true best player available, well, that could be a corner. It could be a wide receiver. It doesn't preclude you from taking them, but it also opens up the idea of you taking a position that you've got filled right now.
Any of those other positions,
Anything. But it could include
trade
receiver and corner, though.
And like I would even include trade back, like a
trade
small
back,
trade back, anything like that.
Other than, or if you prefer an offensive or defensive lineman or an edge rusher, then you're going to choose that something else option. It was so beautiful, Tony, with 12 votes. The top 3 all had Ford. It was just so nice. 33.3% across the board, and nobody voted for something else. But right now, trading to the top 10, pulling in 36%. Take best corner available, pulling in a little over 34%. So tight race there. 16.5 say take the best wide receiver available, and 13% are on to something else as a plan. And again, that's not the only move you're going to make here, but this is the major thing. What's going to go down early on, you would anticipate, unless, they get kind of crazy. Who knows? And maybe they make a deal and trade back into the first round, exercise 17, use next year's first and something else. Who knows what they end up doing? But those are your options right now. Trade in the top 10, take best corner, take best wide receiver, or just something else that's not listed there. Over 270 votes on that so far. And you can hit us up this morning at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at 1010XL Denmark.
Hold my pocket.
Pockets, good morning.
Mike, I know what the Jaguars should do.
Oh?
The Jaguars should give up the whole draft class like the Saints did back in the day and get Marvin Harrison top 5 and fix the receiver.
Are you channeling Terrence?
Yeah,
right
bit.
now? All right.
All right. That was all right. B+.
I mean, I knew where you were going. Mike.
Fat Tony.
Hey, Fat Tony. Hey, Mike. We're not. Balky's not going to take another kicker here, is he? He'd like him to. Yeah, they do score the most. There's no question about that. They score the most points on a typical football team. All right, so if you want to get in today, 641-1010 on the All Pro Roofing phone lines or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Maybe we revisit what it would take now, or what we'd be willing to spend in light of what Houston gave up to get Stephon Diggs was fairly cheap. But again, he comes with issues, right? Age being one of them, but temperament being a big part of it. He kind of forced his way out of Minnesota, seems to have done the same in Buffalo. And the Bills admitted today, hey, are we a better team today than we were yesterday? Probably not. Well, kind of hard to be, because especially since you got your draft compensation a year from now, and I don't think anybody – I put it this way. I don't think the Bills are going so far as to suggest that simply by removing the, quote, cancer, and I'm using air quotes because nobody used that word. I'm just, that's the perception from some of Stephon Diggs, that alone is going to make them a better football team. But I think they realize, well, it's not going to work. He's going to continue to be an issue. And before it builds into something even bigger, and we've seen this game before, let's get what we can at this point in time. So a lot of ways we can go today, including get some fresh mock draft action. We're 3 weeks out from round 1 of the NFL draft. What would you like to see the Jags do in round 1 based on the options that we gave you today, or if there's something else that catches your fancy? You know how to get a hold of us, all right? Don't forget the YouTube chat as well as up and rolling. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios at 1010XL.
That's why I came up with this little beauty.
What is it?
It's
1010XL.
What makes a Honda certified pre-owned vehicle so special? 182-point inspection, 24/7 roadside assistance, first-year free oil changes, and a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty for carefree driving backed by American Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
Prosser here. When it comes to the business of selling your home, there's one promise I can give you that will deliver, and that promise is ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. How do I know this promise is guaranteed? Because they say so and then they deliver. You see, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. So whatever problems you think you're having selling your home, there is your simple solution. They're going to buy it if it's not sold for exactly what you want. Mortgage rates have lowered going into the spring selling season. Now is the time to maximize your equity, and you can do it with the real estate team of Chad and Sandy. They have a plan and the experience to sell your home fast for maximum cash this spring. John and Ursula in Green Meadows wrote in, we weren't in great health, decided to downsize to an easier place to manage. After 185 days, our home failed to sell. We went to Chad and Sandy, sold in 12 days. You can too at ChadandSandy.com.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case, plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona, to the king of beers, to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Did you know Prime Roofing manufactures, fabricates, and installs their metal roofs? If you're thinking about a metal roof, think Prime Roofing. Schedule an estimate today at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
Attention all business owners. The raining season is coming and it's important to ensure that your property storm drains are free from debris and functioning properly. That's where Duck Duck Rooter comes in. Our powerful VACCon truck can effectively clean out your storm drains and prevent costly damage to your property from flooding. Don't let clogged storm drains ruin your business and reputation. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to schedule a cleaning before the rains hit. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Get wet with Captain Kevin.
Whoa!
And remember to bring your net on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show.
Oh, that's a beauty!
Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Look at him!
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
American Electrical is looking for bright minds and hard workers to help light up North Florida. This community continues to grow, and now you can grow your career with a company that will make sure you succeed through commitment. American Electrical even has its own academy dedicated to training select students the electrical trade, and the best news, it's free of charge. Log on to american-electrical.com to find out more. They're leading the way in electrical contractors on the First Coast. American-electrical.com.
RJ Saunders here, sports lovers. I recently took a tip from Frank Frangie when I needed to send flowers to my mother. Frank told me that Kuhn Flowers is the only florist he ever uses. So that's what I do now. I use Kuhn Flowers. Find them online at kuhnflowers.com.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Looking for a new or used firearm? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach will get you locked and loaded. New firearms coming in weekly, and always looking for used guns. No lines and no waiting. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loans. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make that happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for a home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. So call now, 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com at 904-999-1508. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. You've heard me praising the quick and easy process of Awaken 180 weight loss. It begins with fitting into clothes you haven't worn in years. Or better yet, buying new clothes because those you have don't fit anymore. Or tightening your belt and realizing you're out of holes. Or running on the treadmill, or on the beach, or lifting weights like you once did. Or someone seeing you for the first time in months and saying, wow, I don't even recognize you. Or your health drastically changes. Who doesn't want that? The transformation from old to new is the finish line, and Awaken 180 Weight Loss gets you there faster, safer, and easier than any other weight loss program. You're healthy, you're happy, you've made a paradigm life shift. I want everyone to know how easy losing weight can be with Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If I can do it, if Mike Dempsey and Hacker can do it, if more than 21,000 others can do it, you can too. Get your plan, get your personal coach, and get your results by doing what we all did. Choose the solution for weight loss, Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Call 844-346-1800, 844-346-1800, or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
I get it in the moment. People get feeling like, we're getting passed by. There's whatever is happening. But I feel like a little perspective is needed here. Cobalt Blue tweets in, there's an arms race happening in the AFC South, and Balky won't turn his key. And he puts the gif of like somebody in the missile launch room, and he just failure to launch. Just won't do it. So the Eric Armstead signing wasn't trying to make this team better. The Mitch Morse or Gabe Davis or Darnell Savage or Devin Duvernay or any of these guys or Ronald Darby that they brought in, or the willingness to pay Calvin Ridley $20 million a year and still have a plan, apparently, to have all these other guys sign. Can't help it if somebody came over the top. I mean, some teams are going to have more cap space than you.
I'm not critical of Houston for going after it. They're doing what they should do.
I'm not critical of them either, but I don't feel like Balky's been sitting on his hands this offseason. But
the criticism of Jacksonville there is it's not all completely fair. They didn't have the same options that Houston did going into this offseason to go after this offseason. Good for Houston for doing it as aggressively as they have. They should be.
And by the way, there's T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, whomever may want out.
It's in the ether. Yeah.
Okay, it's in the ether.
Yeah.
Okay, has any other team given up a first-round pick? I mean, obviously not, because they haven't been dealt yet. Or does that mean all those other GMs are unwilling to participate in the arms race that it takes to make their teams competitive? Or maybe they have to do a cost-benefit analysis and go, well, I'm giving this up, plus the salary, plus this. It's a deep wide receiver class. I don't know what's going on in Trent Baalke's head. You know? Probably don't ever really want to know exactly what's going on in there. But you know what I mean? I just feel like, are you kidding me? You think he's just done nothing this entire offseason? I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know what to. I was shocked how much they were able to do considering the cap space that they had going into the situation. And look, has he gotten a deal done with Josh Allen? No. But does that mean it won't get done? Who knows? You know, I don't know. I just feel like the idea that he's sitting back there like, man, every penny I don't spend, I get a bonus for or something. Like, why wouldn't he want to go out there and add players to this team? And I think he added a lot more than I thought the Jags were going to be capable of adding, Tony. I know when we went into it, we thought if they could add one guy, one significant guy, that $10 million a year average, that we would have been surprised, you know, in addition to maybe bringing Ridley back. Okay, so you lose Ridley, but you get Armstead on a big deal. Gabe Davis costs you $13 million a year. Morse is not super expensive, but he's not super cheap either. You know, I don't know. And I get it. Look, I'm not saying Baalke has been fantastic, and I feel the need to repeat. We would have replaced him many times. I see Fred Taylor, you know, tweeting out basically the Jags are not willing to go for it. What do you want him to give? All right, San Francisco says I want Brandon Ayuk. We'll give you Brandon Ayuk, Zay Jones in the 17th pick. I'd like to ask Fred if he's willing to give that up. Maybe he is. You know, that's what the rumor was. And maybe, who knows, it'll still get done on draft day. I don't know. I did see Josh Allen like that tweet. Did you notice that? Jags Josh Allen liked Fred's tweet because part of it was like, get Josh Allen's deal done. He was just talking about the Jags need to go for the kill. I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. The Jags did go for the kill in the late 90s, and it failed spectacularly.
Sure.
As well. You know, it looked like it was going to work. I'm talking about going from 99 to 2000, you know, and let's just push all our chips into the middle. And I get it, and I don't blame a team for doing that, but there's no guarantee that that's going to lead to success. You're trying to balance competing right now with remaining competitive, and you got to look ahead when Trevor Lawrence does get that big contract. What are the contracts we're going to have on the books, and how much dead money are we going to have to account for, and all these different things. I'm not trying to make excuses. Again, we would have moved on from Trent Baalke multiple times in the last several years, but to act like he's not participating in team building this offseason to me is just, you know, your Baalke hatred is blinding you, in my opinion. So,
to some degree, at least.
To some degree.
Yeah, it's not being willing to acknowledge that the Jags have done anything right this offseason, I think, is a little bit silly.
Or that he's not even like he's just sitting or like waiting for is he going to make a move?
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding? My head was spinning how many moves and signings they were doing that first week.
None of that's to say that Houston won the division last year and they've gotten better in this offseason. Significantly better, it looks like, in this offseason. And good for them for being as aggressive as they've been willing to be going after it in this offseason. The Jags didn't have that same opportunity with the same cap space and all these different things that were going on, right? Like it's not like both were coming at it from the same place to attack this offseason. Good on Houston for doing it the way they've done it, right? Like I can't point to anything that Houston has done to this point and say, well, that's dumb, right? Like nothing about what Houston has done in this offseason is something that I'm like, that's dumb. I hope they all blow up in their face. That's what I hope the outcome is.
Of course.
For all these things. But I don't think it's stupid to go make a trade of a late-round pick for Joe Mixon. I don't think that's dumb. I don't think it's dumb to trade a second-round pick next year for Stephon Diggs. I don't think that's a dumb thing for Houston to do. I don't think it's dumb to pay Danielle Hunter what they're paying Danielle Hunter. Like Danico Autry. We talked about that right before free agency opened. I love the Autry signing there in Houston. They've done a lot of things that I really like about what Houston's done this offseason. There are things Jacksonville has done. They're not at the same level of the things that Houston has done. And look, for some fans, and apparently that fan in particular, that's enough to say then Baalke's not trying.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Well, look, here's one from Doug. All right, it's not about the Armstead, Morse, or Darby signings. It's Trent's constant feeling of, quote, we're good enough while other teams go all in. When did he say that? When has Trent Baalke got up and said, that's it, we're good enough? And I get last year the way it went down, but they also had almost no cap space last year to spend. And they were coming off a season in which they're hoping some young players would develop. He concludes this by, a lot of having Trent's back today, fellas. Okay, clown emoji, haver on Twitter. I mean, look, it's clear you're not going to accept the mere presence of the clown emoji with the Shad Khan mustache tells me you're not going to accept anything that Trent Baalke does. No. I know where you're coming from. So the idea, so you all I heard, if we don't do something about Luke Fortner, we're not trying. So when he does something about Luke Fortner, well, that's because Baalke made a bad pick in Fortner. You can't win. You're going to make bad picks, okay? You're going to have to replace guys. Should he go, not going to do it. I'm going to sit here with Fortner. So
That's what they thought he was going to do.
Well,
he
you're
didn't.
unhappy if he does that.
Yeah.
You're unhappy if he replaces him.
Yeah.
Apparently, at least this guy is, right?
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of having Trent's back today. No, we're speaking facts. If you can't acknowledge that they went out there and were super aggressive with the resources that they had in free agency, then you and I are not watching the same thing, honestly, with your clown of damn emojis, honestly. I mean, grow up. At some point, grow up and realize life isn't going to be giving you every single thing you want at every single moment you want it, okay? Sometimes you're not going to get your way exactly the way you want it to go, all right? Let's go to Marlon on the north side at 641-1010. To start things off. Marlon, good morning.
Good morning, Demps. Good morning, Tony.
Morning.
What's up?
Hey, guys. I wanted to talk draft. Wanted to, I'm on the fence. I'm more along the lines of I want big uglies. I want to, either you're going to get something on that D-line, in that interior of the D-line or the interior of that offensive line. I feel like there's still deficiencies. I feel like They have Band-Aid issues. I'm still not happy with the Cam Robinson. I haven't been happy with Cam Robinson, and I feel like that is a situation of deficiency. You got to protect the most important piece of this puzzle, which is, that's Trevor. You got to protect Trevor and or get the ball back in his hands for him to make more plays. But if you're, I don't feel like I don't feel like the offensive line is going to be a problem again this year.
Oh, it may be. Marlon, I appreciate the call. Look, I would say right now, I think they certainly feel that Cam Robinson's their best option at left tackle. And so when we say you're not happy with Cam, well, they don't have a replacement unless you want to move Anton Harrison over there, and they feel, again, that Cam Robinson brings them something. Now, that's their prerogative. You have the prerogative to feel differently about it, but let's say they do draft an interior offensive lineman, Tony, then you're paying Brandon Sheriff a lot of money to do what, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. You have to, at some point, you have to replace these things, but if you go that route, and there's nothing wrong with building up your offensive line or your defensive line for that matter, then you simply can't be addressing these other positions early in the draft. So as long as you're sitting there and you go, well, we got this offensive line or we drafted this guy, and by next year you wait and see how good that offensive line is as the secondary can't cover anybody. You know what? There's always a trade-off. And, as far as the defensive line goes, in the interior of the defensive line, I think it's a waste of resources based on what they have to go that way that early.
Yeah,
to me.
I think one of the criticisms of Balky that scores the most points, right, when it gets brought up to me is the draft stuff, right? And now it's trying to figure out how Balky can help some of the positions where they might be deficient this year in the draft, and it hasn't been a strength of his, especially since he got here to Jacksonville. So, because you can look, and he's done it again this offseason, right? They did it a couple of years ago, spending the way they did in an offseason and addressed a bunch of problems that they had to address, right, in free agency, and they did it really well, with Kirk and these guys coming in and helping this football team immediately. And it does feel like to me, during this offseason and free agency, Balky has made moves that helps the team immediately. I can understand the question still being out there about how much is Trent Baalke going to be able to help him over the course of a draft. Because in the last two,
sure,
not much, right? And that criticism, every time it gets brought up, I'm like, that scores, right? Like that scores points for the argument for why you wouldn't want Baalke to be here anymore. And what we have left of this offseason is however he's going to help him in the draft, right? Like that's what we have left of this offseason. So
we don't know what he's going to do in the draft.
We don't know what he's going to do.
Had another GM, had they fired Baalke and another GM came in and made all the same moves that they made, would anybody be that upset about him?
No. No. Which is where the criticism of Baalke is unfair for what he's done thus far, for the team here in the last month and a half or so, because I do think he's done some good work. Whatever I think he should do, will do, all those different things, whatever he does isn't going to work in the draft. I think a lot of fans feel that way. Time will tell on that.
Maybe, right, exactly. Right. Like last year.
Like, you're not going to change the fact that he's making the picks. He's making the picks. Hope he makes the right ones.
He turned the first-round pick last year into Anton Harrison plus multiple picks.
Yes.
That included Antonio Johnson. So he did a really good job with that, right? Does it mean he absolutely can't do a good job in the second or third round? You know what I mean? Like, you're right, Tone. You can fear all you like, but we don't know who the picks are going to be right now.
With Antonio's going to get the opportunity to start this year for the Jaguars at safety. We'll see what that looks like. I think he's a really good player, and he's going to be good at that position. I do. And that in 2 years we're going to be looking at that as a really good value. For where they wound up getting him, everyone's going to be like, Antonio was a really solid pick, right, for this team. I think Anton's going to be a really solid pick for this team going into the future. So one of those other draft picks, like most draft classes, if you get three guys that are players, right, you've done pretty well.
Yeah.
And so if one of those other draft picks turns into Tank Bigsby turns into a guy that can actually tote the rock in a year, right? I'm not saying that he will, but if he does, it's like, okay, that draft class isn't this miserable scum pile that it's been talked about after a year. I'm not saying that it's unfair to criticize what they did. 1 year later because they didn't get a lot of impact from that draft class. But time will tell on how good or bad that draft class is going to wind up being. He took a lot of shots for the Trayvon Walker pick. That's one that 2 years in, it's like, that's okay. Maybe I still would have preferred the Hutchinson over Walker when all that's said and done, but I don't look at Walker and say he's got no chance to be a really, really good player at that spot for this franchise. And I think he's still young enough that he could still be developing, and that in the end, everyone can look at that and say he did a good job with that one. I think that's where ultimately that one is going to land. And that's picking number 1. That's not picking in the 4th round. And I get the criticism of they're not getting enough impact throughout the draft. I would agree with that. But time will tell on how much impact they're going to get from the later picks in the last couple of drafts that Trent's made.
And by the way, if you're going to critique what I say, at least get it right. Jacob on the YouTube chat. Mike just said drafting an edge would be a waste of resources. No, I didn't.
Mm-mm.
I said drafting an interior defensive lineman. Interior. They're paying Armstead, Hamilton, and Roy Robertson Harris each over $10 million a year. That's a lot of money tied up into one position group, and you're going to draft a guy there at 17 if you take one that's going to play less than 50% of the snaps.
Yeah.
That's a waste of resources
At
to
the
me.
very least, it would at least be acknowledging that they wasted the resources on one of those other three guys.
Right. Somewhere they've wasted resources on that position. Nowhere did I say edge.
Yeah.
Okay? So at least if you're going to critique what I say, get what I say right. And, down the rabbit hole we go. Glenn and Jack's Beach up next here on Jaguars Today. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, guys. Bringing the fire this morning. I like it. Hey, I just wanted to chime in with my feelings of, now after getting through the disappointment of the season, which we go through as fans, and getting back, to where we're looking at things, I agree with everything you guys have said this morning, that Bulky is doing an okay job. He's improved our offense and our defensive line. And the three things that I believe in NFL as a longtime fan and season ticket holder is the guys that are in the game at the end of the year are usually the healthiest two teams in the NFL. So as far as everybody and the end of the world with Houston, well, let's see how healthy they stay and what happens. That's first. Secondly, I think everything with the Jaguars depends on our boy at quarterback. And if he has a similar year to last year, we're in trouble. And if he doesn't and finally becomes a generational guy, quote, as they've been calling him, that Katie bar the door. And last but not least, I loved Demetrius's tweet, I guess it was a couple days ago, that showed the free agents in 25, which kind of led me to believe, obviously, the cornerback is the pick because we have so few of them signed. Did you guys see that?
Oh, yeah. We're well aware of where things stand with the cornerback class and the wide receivers as well. Glenn, appreciate the call. And Demetrius did a good job with that, highlighting that. But I don't think, again, you can't just go, well, we need corner so badly. I mean, it may match up that corner is a value.
I was about to say, they're in a pretty good spot to get a corner at 17.
Right.
And they would have been if they didn't need one. They'd be in a good spot for a corner.
But if you can't just go into it going, man, our biggest hole is here. We have to take this position.
They did that last year.
You can't do that. I mean, you can do it if it matches up. If it doesn't match up with the value, that's how ultimately, you put a Band-Aid on it, and maybe it works for a year or half a year or whatever, and then you're wondering why are these other teams passing us because they have superior players.
Yeah.
Because we took a lesser guy because we needed that spot. Now, the health thing, yes, nobody can know. Nobody can predict. The Trevor thing, I agree with to a large degree, but then you get to the whole debate of what is keeping Trevor Lawrence from being the guy that we need him to be. Was it simply injuries last year? When you look at the splits, pre-injuries, post-injuries, Jaguars' record, his performance, they're pretty stark, right? Was it that? Is it lack of protection? Is it lack of playmakers? Is it probably a combination of all these things? Does Trevor just need to be better at reading defenses and some of the things that he can do internally that have nothing to do with some of this, who his teammates are around him? Probably some of that, right? There's a little bit of this for everything. So, when we got to protect Trevor. If we protect Trevor, it's going to be fine. Therefore, we have to draft an offensive lineman. Maybe, and that'll help. But then you don't have coverage as there goes Stephon Diggs down the field. You know what I mean? It's so. You know what else helps Trevor? When you don't let the other team score. right? That helps him too. So, look, we all have ideas, and that's fine, about what the Jags should do to become more competitive. But I think in the end, if we're not acknowledging that they're trying to be better, like I feel like there's some who just think Balky is just, his whole point, the whole line about proving he's the smartest guy in the room, that's more important to him than actually trying to prove that by building a good football team with winning players rather than striking on some obscure player that they're not aware of. I don't know, man. They went pretty big last year. They went, Oklahoma and Penn State and Auburn, and I mean, just huge programs. Again, for the millionth time, we would have moved on from Trent Baalke, but I got to be able to. We have to agree on certain established facts, whether or not he's even trying to help this team from some corners, and maybe that's just the squeakiest wheel, 1% out there. But I see it all the time. If you're on the line, stay right there. 641-1010. We'll get to you coming back on the other side. The question of the day for the Jags, what would you rather see them do with 17? Move up into the top 10, take corner, take wide receiver, or do something else? This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios. You know Dan Hicken.
You ask him, he thinks he's the best in the world. But he's a functioning lunatic.
And you know Jeff Prosser.
I mean, he's a very interesting guy, you'll see.
Sure he is.
They are The Drill.
I don't know what to say.
I know what to say.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
The Wing Madness menu at Boston's Restaurant and Sports Bar is a slam dunk. Sink your teeth into our mouth-watering rib or cauliflower wings. Available in 16 amazing flavors. Try their trash can nachos, layers of crispy tortilla chips piled high with all the fixings, and their flavorful, addictive corn wings. You'll be hoarding these like a sneaky technical foul. Get 50% off bone-in or boneless wings on our loyalty program. All the details and restrictions at bostons.com today.
Race into Gate for big offers. By big, we mean great deals on Red Bull and a chance to win tickets to the big race coming to Miami May 3rd through 5th. Buy 2 8.4-ounce cans of Red Bull, get one free. And if you're a MyGate Rewards member, you are automatically entered for a chance to win race tickets. Not a member? Download the Gate app and sign up today. See store for details. Go from good to Gate.
Leon Searcy here, Jaguar legend and 3-time national champion. Are you ready to elevate your game and dominate on the gridiron? Our elite offensive line camp is designed for young athletes who aspire to push their limits, refine their skills, and become the very best. It's called the Lineman Life. Sunday, April 14th, D1 training on Beach Boulevard. Whether you are aiming to make a starting lineup or a college scholarship, this camp is for you. Spots are limited, so secure your spot now. Go to eventbrite.com, the Lineman Life - offensive line camp. Enter promo code 1010 and get $25 off. Greatness awaits.
Start your Saturday with a whiff of the great outdoors.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Lagerman. We bring you the fresh air of the great outdoors.
On the Nimnit Outdoors Show, presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services on 1010XL.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and the summer sun is just begging us to get out and ride, and Honda's got every level of rider in mind, don't they?
They do. They've got Honda scooters. They got the mini motos, great for the beach. They've got the big, heavy Goldwing, great for taking something cross-country. Or they got the Weekend Warrior bikes, too. We got them all in the showroom.
Yeah, the real cool thing about it is you can log on to cyclesofjacksonville.com or just cruise on by and check you out.
Absolutely. We got them on the showroom, ready to roll.
On Atlantic, near Regency, Cycles of Jacksonville.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, I have heard you talk about growing a diamond from a small size to a larger size. Exactly how does that work at Underwoods?
David, it's a very simple thing we do on diamond solitaire rings and diamond ear studs and diamond solitaire necklaces. When a customer buys one of these items from Underwoods, we guarantee they get the price paid for it on the purchase of any larger or more expensive diamond. Now, a lot of places would say we do the same thing, but where Underwoods is different is we don't care if you're only trading up by 1/100th of a carat or going up by $1. We give the customer the full value of the diamond they're trading in. The Underwood Grow a Diamond program has been in place for a number of years, and it's something the people here in North Florida have been taking advantage of for a long time.
That's at Underwood's, where you can grow a diamond.
Underwood's, serving excellence since 1928 in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Underwood Jewelers.
At what temperature is Fahrenheit equal to Celsius?
Southern Oak Insurance knows that you want to save money on your homeowner's insurance. So why not try some old-fashioned common sense? Ask your Southern Oak agent about our roof replacement schedule. It will save you money.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
At 40 degrees below zero, the temperature is the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius. Why? It takes too long to explain.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Regular strength training is key to maintaining muscle mass. Like muscle building, you need to stress the muscle to maintain strength. This means lifting enough weight and doing enough reps to the point where it's too hard to do one more. Yoga and Pilates are also lower impact muscle building workouts that help maintain lean body mass and improve flexibility. Let's get moving, Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
I don't know if the Terrence signal is what got him to call. Pockets did a work in progress Terrence impersonation earlier in the program today. My man Terrence up in Georgia. How's it go, Pockets?
Mike. Fat Tony.
You got to stretch out at Mike.
Mike.
Hey, Mike. Terrence, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
how you doing? Hey,
Terrence.
Hey.
What's up, bud? We love you, bro.
Man.
What's going on?
Love you, too. Listen, I know we all been hard on Trent, but Trent went right when free agency come out, he jumped on with signing players left and right. I think everybody, what Stephon Diggs, I'm like, oh, man, what a move. But Trent got to get in, and he's got to fight back. I mean, Houston, I believe, they ultimately trying to beat Kansas City. It may look like they're trying to beat us and win the division, which is true, but I think they're trying to get to they're going out to Kansas City.
I hope everybody is.
Yeah. So I think Trent got to go out and fight back. Then I think that'll make the fans be like, okay, all right, Trent, we see what you're doing too. So I think that's the attitude he's got to take. And I think everybody jumped on him for last year's draft. I think Cam, his situation, what really changed the way he drafted last year because he had to go get Anton. Then I really believe that second and third round pick was based on Anton too, because they didn't know if Anton could handle himself by himself out there as a rookie. So I think they had to get a tight end. They had to think about all of that, get a tight end, running back to help him out over there on that side.
Terrence, imagine if they didn't draft Anton Harrison last year. Now, thinking back, what might they have done there, Tony? I'm not sure, right? But if they didn't, Terrence, and we went into this offseason with Cam Robinson and Walker Little each with 1 year left on their deals. We had to have an offensive tackle in addition to having to have a corner. I mean, they may take one anyway. You know what I mean, though? Like maybe that suspension forced, if it did force their hand, maybe that turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
And I think Houston is dictated to us now, which we shouldn't let a team dictate us. That's just like Cam forced that our hand last year. I think that Stephon Diggs is going to force us to take a corner because I don't care. They talking about this base defense with Nick Ryan talking about this 4-3. Man, Houston going to be in 11 personnel a lot with them 3 receivers.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we're going to be in nickel all day. We know that. Look, we know this team needs corners, Terrence. I think prior to even the Diggs trade, I think this highlights it a little bit, but I don't think anybody would have been shocked if it was a corner at 17 even before the deal went down yesterday. So
we just got to hit. Hope he hits, so we'll see.
Right. Terrence, you've become way too reasonable lately.
Well, on this one, because I think you would have threw me out the other day. I was thinking about what we're going to do in the first round.
Terrence, have a good weekend, man.
All right, you too. All right,
we'll see if we don't talk to you. Then you're always welcome to call tomorrow as well. But look, I get the frustration. I really do get the frustration. But I just want, I can't have all bad. Like, if you can't have any nuance in the conversation, it's got to. Right. You got to recognize the good as well as the bad. We don't try to hide the bad. We know that there have been failures, many of them, over the years. By the way, you probably find that with just about every GM, but we don't care about every GM. No. So there have been plenty of failures. There's no question about it. We're fearful there will be more in the future, but we are at this point. And I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, well, I got my opinion. It's stuck. I'm not going to change it. And I don't care about Eric Armstead. It's a bad signing because Balky made it. Or this is a bad sign. Or we're only signing these guys because Balky screwed up. You say that about every roster in the league. You know, why did Houston need to trade for Joe Mixon? Oh, they didn't have a good plan at running back. You know what? They drafted Damian Pierce 2 years ago. What a failure. I mean, you could do this if you want to play this game about every position in the league. And I think, look, part of it is, and I understand it, Jaguar fans thought we would be the team right now sitting on the top of the heap after another playoff run, that it's Super Bowl or bust, baby, and everyone's going to be loving on the Jags. But the feeling is that C.J. Stroud burst on the scene, and all of a sudden the Texans have taken the place.
Yeah, and I do think, we've made it clear we would have fired Balky a long time ago. When they were showing Urban the door, I would have shown Trent the door at the same time, right? And okay, they didn't do that. He's going to be the GM this year again in the draft. I feel like there is a portion of the fan base, and that's the portion of the fan base that's been willing to be loud about it this morning during the show, reacting to everything we've had to say, that takes anything we say that is not critical of Trent Baalke as a defense of Trent Baalke.
Yes, you were.
Right?
Caping.
You're taking something that we're not saying that to say Trent should be here. We're saying we don't think this was bad.
Since he's here, let's hope he does good things.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to.
I don't think the signing of Eric Armstead was bad. I'm watching somebody on the text line right now saying if he hadn't overpaid for Kirk, it's like, you thought that was a bad signing. You think in hindsight the Christian Kirk signing was a bad signing. What?
Right, he was ahead of the curve.
Right.
Honestly. I mean, that's anyway. Look, here.
But for the fans that feel that way, anything we say that is not a direct attack on Trent Baalke is a defense of Trent Baalke. And hear us, I'm not defending Trent Baalke. Right? He wouldn't be the GM
some of the moves
have.
he made this
right,
offseason,
but I think
though.
I can look at some of the stuff he's done this offseason and say, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not unsatisfied with it. Would I have liked Ridley on top of all this? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would I have faulted him if he had signed Ridley early and gave up a second-round pick? I would have. Right? I don't think it's that complicated.
Sure.
I don't understand why Calvin Ridley couldn't figure that out. Well, they wanted to sign him, and then they tell me they got to wait. Yeah, Calvin, it's not that difficult. Tony, from your experience at Radio Row, let's see if you recall this, who's the one guy I refused to talk
Romanowski.
to? Bill Romanowski. Do I hate a figure from the NFL more than Bill Romanowski?
Not that
I'm
you're
aware of.
No.
If Bill Romanowski became the GM of the Jaguars, you think I'd root for him to do well? You're damn right I would, because now he's our turn. Okay, and we want to win. I don't care if it's winning in spite of Trent Baalke. You can feel however you like about it.
Yeah.
Can we all agree that if we're stuck in a situation that we would not have chosen, let's make the best of it, right? I don't want to be on the sinking ship, but I hope there's enough lifeboats for us if we are.
Or just react to it as it happens. Right? When he makes a good decision, say, that's pretty good. When he makes a bad decision, say, what are you doing?
But all this, and I'm letting, look, and I'm easily triggered. It's fine. And we all know that about me, but it's true. I react emotionally to things. When you say that Trent Baalke's not participating in the arms race, I'm like, I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know how to respond because he wasn't willing to give up every asset he has to go get T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk. Well, he's probably willing to give up something, because he's got to get that contract up too. And again, they're still on their teams.
We did the Ayuk thing a couple weeks ago, right? Like that was a question we asked one
day. Would you give up X?
And I said, yeah, I'd give up 17.
You would. Not
to go get
about
Ayuk.
A third of the people would.
But I'm at least willing to acknowledge that I don't think it's foolish to not do it, right? Like, I don't think it's because you're not playing the game. It's
right.
the
I don't
reason
think it's
why
because
you
Trent
wouldn't do
Baalke
it.
refuses to participate or is not trying.
Right.
It's
I'm willing to be more aggressive than he's been willing to be. I'm willing to be more aggressive in paying Josh Allen than he, to this point, has shown that he's willing to be. I think I'm right about those things, and I hope they all work out for the best of the franchise in the end, but I don't think the stances they've taken on Josh Allen or the Ayuk trade, however involved in that they might or might not have been, I don't think them not giving up the 17th pick is, well, he's just not willing to play the game.
By the way,
that's going too far.
We don't know what anybody's going to be willing to give up. Could Brandon Ayuk get traded? I don't think it's a zero possibility.
No.
By the end of the NFL draft.
They're saying he's not available, but no, I don't think it's impossible.
Everyone's available.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's available.
Yeah.
You don't think Brock Purdy? I don't know what it would take to get him, but it would take. I'm just saying.
You can make an offer.
I bet you could get the Niners to come off Brock Purdy this offseason, right? If you're the right team with the right draft capital, so everyone's available. I'm not buying that, but we'll see if it all goes down. And you see Buffalo going. I've seen this one. The Bills fans now, because now they obviously have. Gabe Davis left first, and now Diggs falls out the door. They did bring Curtis Samuel in, but they still need help at the top of the depth chart.
Big time.
So they're going, what if we give 28 and we get back San Fran's second-round pick? No. We're in line ahead of you, okay? We got 17, and if anybody's giving up a first-round pick and getting a second-rounder back, it's us. Damn it. So anyway,
let's hope.
They're all on that. That's become the thing of the day.
They got to figure out how to fix their franchise. We're talking every day about how to fix this.
That Brandon Beane doesn't give a damn.
Right.
Is what it is. All right, we'll come back hour 2, including the Hammer. Hayes Carline going to stop by about 20 after the hour. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI studios at 1010XL.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Where the pros go.
Hello, you're on the air.
1010XL has a new lineup.
Lunch. Here we go.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Mornings. Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony. 10 to noon. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl. Noon to 2. Joe C., Matt Hayes, and Leon. 2 to 4. Frank Franchi and Hayes Carline. 4 to 6. And Baloo and Hacker in the evening.
Flip a dial. Instant entertainment.
The 2024 draft is almost here.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Join us at Everbank Stadium Thursday, April 25th for the official draft party presented by Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Be there as the Jaguars make the 17th overall pick, and don't miss the unveiling of the official 30th season logo that you voted on. We're getting the party started at 7 p.m. Tickets are free, so register today at jaguars.com/draft party. We can't wait to see you there.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select.
Hicken here. The Borland Groover Foundation proudly presents the annual March to Get Screened 5K race and 1 mile fun run. Sunday, April 14th. The race starts at 7 a.m. under the Fuller Warren Bridge. Their mission, raise awareness about colorectal cancer and related deaths. All proceeds benefit the Borland Groover Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Hey there, Jacksonville. With scorching temperatures just around the corner, it's crucial to ensure your AC is blowing nice and cool. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is here to keep you comfortable all summer long. But don't wait until the heat gets here. Our service techs are ready right now to handle any cooling issues you may have at your home or business. Call Duck Duck AC today at 904-862-6769 to schedule. That's 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Online at duckduckac.com.
ET here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 24th. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area, craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items. This is one of the most charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who is passionate about golf and its values, all impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make that happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for a home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. So call now, 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com at 904-999-1508. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
Frank Frangie here. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, and I love living here. But I also know how bad bugs are in Florida. So I trust Orange Environmental Services to handle all my pest control needs because they've got the best technicians and effective treatment. Their name may be orange, but they think green. Orange Environmental has been serving the First Coast for over 50 years, and they now offer complete lawn maintenance services. Call Orange Environmental Services for peace of mind from bug problems today. Call them at 272-3284. That's 272-3284.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Kuhn Flowers. This time last year, Gators quarterback Graham Mertz was the new man on campus learning an entire new offense and system. Now, with a year already under his belt, Mertz feels he has grown leaps and bounds in not only his play, but his leadership to help make those around him better.
Last year, at this time, I'm still learning. Like, my head's spinning, I'm still messing up drops, still messing up reads. And you think back to like January, February, when I'm in this room with film right here learning. And now this time, like last year, this year, January, February, I'm teaching the guys extra reps, and that kind of leads into spring ball where now we can hit the ground running. So I think across the board, it's allowed us to, when you get to this point of spring, be playing at a higher level across the board.
It's 68 degrees at 11 o'clock, time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Another mock over at CBS Sports Tone. This is that time of year, baby. We're getting them daily now. CBS and elsewhere. Just run through it real quick, get to the Jags pick, and then I've got a question for you that I don't believe I posed. We'll see how you feel about acquiring wide receiver talent. In this one, Caleb Williams to the Bears, Drake May to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels to the Patriots, Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals. Okay?
Okay.
You can see those being the top four very easily.
No doubt.
In whatever order. J.J. McCarthy goes fifth after Minnesota trades up with the Chargers to get ahead of the Giants, who take Malik Neighbors. Joe Alt goes to the Tennessee Titans after the Caleb Williams pick. That might be the most mocked selection because all the you get Arizona trading around a lot, and the May Daniels flip-flop at 2 and 3.
Yeah, and the Alt pick hasn't changed in 2 months.
It really hasn't, right?
Yeah.
Now, occasionally you see the Chargers take him in a mock, and then they pivot. But
take another tackle.
Right. Dallas Turner, the edge rusher, going to Atlanta. Roma Dunze going to the Bears. Sad, single tear goes down the cheek. Tali Fwanga, the offensive tackle from Oregon State, goes 10th to the Jets. Although, excuse me, no cough button. I've been told the Tyron Smith thing changes the calculus, at least by one Jets reporter, that they would prefer an offensive weapon as opposed to an offensive lineman. We'll see if they're right. J.C. Latham out of Alabama goes to the Chargers after they traded back to 11. Brock Bowers goes to the Colts after they move up to get him, which would be an interesting piece there. Quinion Mitchell then goes to the Raiders. Olaf Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State, goes 14th to the Saints. Byron Murphy goes 15th to Denver because they moved back with Indy. Troy Fautanu goes to the Seahawks, and that leaves Terrion Arnold for the Jags, which is fine. I mean,
good. Yep.
I'm at this point where I feel like Terrion Arnold's a good fit. They say football character's crazy high. He's a good tackler in space, good cover man. He's got the body. He's got the instincts. He's got it all. Right? So I'm good. And, in fact, the way Josh Edwards wrote it, he said Terrion Arnold's the top cornerback prospect in this class for some. That's great value at this stage of the first round. Top cornerback or the top two, there are plenty of years when you see two go in the top 10, right? So because of the quarterback and wide receiver situation, these guys may fall. So here's a Dunze at 9. We kind of set up this question today with this in mind.
Yep.
Would you rather trade into the top 10? And we gave the price to get to 9, specifically to 9, as the first and the second rounder for the Jags this year, okay? Now, we've got a couple of hypotheticals here. Tony Smith, what do you prefer? You can give the 17th pick for Brandon Ayuk, and then you got to give him a contract that averages $28 to $30 million a year.
Yep.
Okay? You can do that. You can give the 17th and the 48th pick for Roma Dunze, and you give him a contract that probably nets him $25 million over the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
But you don't have a second-round pick.
Sure.
What's a better option?
Without hesitation, I'm trading for a Dunze.
You're trading for a Dunze without hesitation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without hesitation, I'd make that move.
How come?
Give up the first and second. Because I do think there is the potential for a Dunze to be, what Ayuk is, right? There's at least the potential for it. The money there would be a major factor in it, right?
Have to be.
Like that, I think the important outcome is that you come out of whatever the draft process with a top of the depth chart wide receiver, that you feel good about it. And I do think a Dunze, there are some that debate, as we talked about with Jeremiah in different areas, like these things, like he might be number 2, on some list of wide receivers.
He looks like
draft.
a beast. I mean, he looks like there's really not much he can't do.
And the moment that he walked in here, if they pulled that kind of thing off, like I'm putting myself, like I'd be excited if they traded for Ayuk and got that done, obviously.
Yeah.
If they pulled off the trade and I would be doing backflips, right? In my mind, I'd be doing backflips over them being aggressive enough to go make that kind of a move.
Okay, so you could have that.
Yeah.
Right, but what about having Ayuk? And look, with the cap space, I'm convinced they can come up with it, right? I mean,
they'll figure out a way.
Now, I'm not even going to say at the cost of like Cam Robinson, because that adds another layer to the thing. Let's presume they don't have to lose anyone that they currently have, at least for 2024, to still make it happen. Let's say, like, Matt Hayes been on the Cooper Beebe train, right? The guard out of Kansas in round 2. So let's say you had Cooper Beebe, who is competing this year to improve your offensive line, or a walk-in starter next year, possibly, right? Sheriff leaves. You're looking at him as a starter. Your offensive line is better. You're getting that in addition to possibly Ayuk in this scenario. And again, the money's big, right? And I think part of it, I think a lot of people would choose your option because they would say that Balky's going to blow that 48th pick anyway. So, seriously, and in that circumstance, I don't fault you for feeling that. Like, if that's how you feel based on past history, okay, and you look at it. If you put names on these guys, sometimes we value the pick is worth X amount of points. This pick's worth X amount of points. Therefore, they're always going to be worth that many points. Well, they're not. Like a car. You buy the car, you drive it off the lot, you depreciate it 10%
it changes.
instantly, right? Let's say at 17, Tony, you drafted Brian Thomas. Okay. And you drafted Cooper Beebe. Now, you have to feel that Odunze is that much better than Brian Thomas. You have to have that evaluation. That's part of your thing. If you feel they're close, then you're like, man, what? Are you kidding me? I might be able to get an equivalent and another starter on top of that. And collectively, those two guys might make less than the guy making at 9, right? I haven't done the math on that. I'll go back and look at some of the contracts from last year. Seriously. But, but if you said, like, so often it happens this way. Like when the Jags when they drafted C.J. Henderson and Caleb Von Chason, you're like, would you give up this pick and that pick to move up, I don't know, one spot in the draft? Well, as it turned out, it would have been fine, right? Because once you have those names attached to it, and you're like, would I give up a guard to go from, let's say Brian Thomas is like, ends up topping out at like the 30th best receiver.
Sure.
And Odunze's the 10th best in the league. I just got to put some value on it.
Yeah.
Is it worth giving up a guard to go from that guy to a top 10 player at the position? Probably is. Right? But when you sit there and you go, that's cheap labor, and I got to find a starter there. And there are – I get all the angles to this.
Yeah. I love having this conversation in light of what we've been doing the entire first hour of the show this morning, right? Because I feel like –
as opposed to why are we not doing anything, or why do people feel we're not doing anything?
As in, I think this is the kind of conversation that Trent Baalke has to have inside that building when he's getting ready for a draft like this. Is it worth XYZ to make this kind of move? What is the cost, right? Like, what are we not allowing ourselves to have an opportunity to go do if we do this, right? And I think all those conversations happen inside the building, and I think fans assume, well, Trent's not even talking about it. And it's like, if you and I are talking about it, then there's no chance that Trent isn't talking about it. I'm willing to pay that price to get there.
I think there's a tiny percent of people, and I think this percent is small, but I think there are a percent of people that think that Trent Baalke is just sitting there laughing at everyone with a clown emoji and is trying to stick it to them. It's like...
Right. Like, I think not only is he having the conversation, but I think the conversation sounds a lot like the one we've been having here for the last couple minutes about whether or not it's worth it to make that kind of move, because they have to have it but to find out if they're willing. Right? And if it's going to happen on draft day, it's because they've been talking about it for a month and a half. Right? It's not something that pops up and they're like, oh, now there's a chance.
Usually not.
Right?
Usually
like, that's not how those things typically happen. So this is a reflection of a potential of the things that are going to be talked about inside the building with the Jaguars. We're having the question of the day today asking, are you willing to trade into the top 10? Right, you just put a name on it with the Odunze.
Well, at 9, sure.
Right, like that kind of thing.
That's the likely target
for the first and second round pick. Right, like you put real numbers on it for us to have a better idea of what the conversation should be around it. Right, with these kinds of things, which I think that's how this whole thing is done. Right, like, I don't think us having that conversation is some exception to the rule of how these things get worked out within the league. I think this is how these things get worked out in the league. But with people who have the power to actually make them happen.
Then you call Chicago and go, hey, just out of curiosity, like if we wanted to come up to 9, how would you feel about 17 and 48? The math says we're actually overpaying by the slightest amount.
Like, and understanding that, I'm willing to make that move to go get Odunze, knowing that I'm willing to pay the cost of the guard in the second round. Right? Like that's what I'm saying.
Or the corner, or the fact that we're not going to be able to draft a corner until the 96th pick in the draft.
That I acknowledge that this is what it's going to cost me to go make that kind of move. I'm willing to pay that price.
And know that, too, if you're voting for that option. You're not getting pass rush.
And
you're
that
not
it's
getting
not,
deep line. You're not getting O-line.
And it's not I'm on this side of that argument. That doesn't mean that I think it's unreasonable to say I'd rather have whatever I'm going to get at 17 in the guard. Right, like I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, I don't think it's unreasonable.
It's not what I would do.
You just have to know that that's what it's costing you.
Yes.
And you sit there and you go, well, why didn't we have this? Why don't we have this? Why are they doing it? And again, why didn't Baalke make this deal with Buffalo? From the indications are Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon were working like a little backdoor thing, like he wanted to get to Houston. That's where he wanted to go. When you got a guy like that and he's looking to get out of the building, and I don't know what kind of – for all we know, people around the league are like, Stephon Diggs, bad news, locker room problem, right? And now, even though the Bills will say on the way out the door he was fantastic for us, then why are you getting rid of him? Come on. Clearly, you're not getting rid of Stephon Diggs other than the fact that he's a malcontent. That's the reason you're getting rid of Stephon Diggs. Well, let's hope he brings some of that malcontentedness to Houston. Go ahead and wreck that locker room, although we both agree that probably doesn't happen in year one. All right, the Hammer Hayes Carline joins us on the other side to talk about these and other Jaguar issues. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. The success continues. Look, last week I recognized, though, that I had made a bit of a difference. No, it wasn't saving a puppy from a well or pulling an old lady out of a burning building. Remarkable as those would have been, this one was pretty cool as well. I saw Hacker, and he's down 45 pounds thanks to Awaken 180. And I'm telling you, man, he looks just so much better now. Why is it awesome? Why is it great? Well, he thanked me for introducing him to Awaken 180, and I'm not only able to watch him have the same transformation I had, but I know I had just this little tiny part in helping make someone help make a 180 with their life, and that inspires me to continue sharing mine. From Matt Hayes to Hacker and hundreds of listeners, every story is uniquely inspiring. So if you have questions, feel free to ask me about Awaken 180. I'm happy to answer all of them, or just maybe you will be the next Awaken 180 success story, and people will be asking you about it. Call Awaken 180 today at 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800, or schedule your consultation online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI studios at 1010XL. Because the expressway doesn't mean the fast way.
Fasten your seatbelt.
The Frangie Show.
Don't look like no expressway to me.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
When you think about a metal roof, think Prime Roofing. Prime Roofing is Jacksonville's local contractor that manufactures, fabricates, and installs metal roofs. Schedule today at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
EasyCater has everything you need to make food for work. Work. From ordering to reporting, we even keep your receipts all in one place, which means all you need to do is sit back and enjoy.
You're not having any lasagna?
All I can taste is hours of expense reports.
Relax, you used EasyCater. Enjoy the food, Ray.
Oh, no, thanks.
Enjoy it?
Amazing.
Yes, Ray. It is amazing. 100,000 restaurants and everything you need to make food for work, work. Order 24/7 at easycater.com.
Nothing came easy, and he wouldn't have it any other way.
It's blue-collar line of scrimmage football. I'm Tom McManus, and I join Jaguars Today Fridays from 10 to noon.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers, Cam Locker toolboxes. Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
It's Guggen Golf time.
Geez, you love this golf stuff, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Listen to the drill for your chance to play in this year's Coastal Equipment Guggen Open.
April 15th at Hidden Hills Golf Club.
Blue skies, fresh cut grass, birds chirping.
Score a hole-in-one and you could win $500 cash from Lucas Honda. Sample delicious meats from Southern Steer Butcher. And check out the latest big boy toys from Ride Now Power Sports. Thanks to our sponsors, Taco Lou, the Borland Gruber Foundation, Instant Keys, and Southern Oak Insurance.
Keeping your body healthy and active leads to a more vibrant life. A great place to do that is the First Coast YMCA. The Y is equipped with state-of-the-art cardio and strength equipment, plus group exercise studios where trainers host activities like yoga, Zumba, and cycling sessions. The full-court basketball gym and indoor 5-lane swimming pool are open year-round. The Kids Zone can keep an eye on your kids while you work on that dad bod. And it's all available with your family membership. Learn more at fcymca.org.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks. Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up. So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh? Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation and drainage too.
Take charge of your well-being at Ackerman Cancer Center. Their new location at the World Golf Village off I-95 now provides screenings for prostate, bladder, and colorectal cancers. The leaders in proton therapy, that's AckermanCancerCenter.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
You can't touch this.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
All right, it's a little hammer time right now. Hayes Carlyon of the Frangie Show joins us here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL. Good morning, Hayes. How are you?
Good morning. How are you all?
We're doing very well. Glad to be joined by you and get your thoughts 3 weeks out from the NFL draft. Hayes, I'll jump in on today's question of the day. All right, which of these scenarios would you prefer for the Jags? Okay, they can stand pat and take the best corner. They can stand pat and take the best wide receiver. They can make a move into the top 10, likely to target a wide receiver there, or they could do something else. What would you prefer?
If they could find a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr. in this draft, then I would do that.
Okay, let me ask you,
up
what if it's
25 first?
What if it's first and second and you're first next year?
I would do it.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah,
I want to make
do
sure we are agreeing on the cost.
Yeah, I think it's time. And again, I don't think it's going to – the ideal situation would be if quarterbacks do go 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's historic. I don't think it's going to happen. And then obviously that would push Harrison and Neighbors to 5 and 6. I love them both. So, I mean, either way, you know, if you could get it to 6, then obviously that would lessen the cost a bit as opposed to 4. But for the purpose of your question, if I had to go to 4, I would do it. I think you'd be adding a player that, you know, is going to be the kind of impact Julio Jones had on Atlanta. They went up from 27 to 6 to get Julio Jones. And, yeah, they gave up 5 picks. It was expensive, but he had 12,896 receiving yards and 60 touchdowns for the Atlanta Falcons in his career. So, I would love to see that happen for the Jaguars. I don't think it's likely. Mainly because I don't know why, if you had a chance to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., you wouldn't just draft him. But, you know, so that would be my preference. But I think they're fine if they stay put at 17. I still think the draft plays out favorably for them.
Hey, it's the whole world is obviously reacting to Diggs being traded to Houston. With all that the other teams in the South have done so far this offseason, where do you think that the Jaguars currently sit in the division?
I think they're second behind the Texans, and I would listen to an argument that the Colts are ahead of them, but I would put the Jaguars ahead of the Colts for now. So I think it's Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and then there's a gap, and then Tennessee.
We already knew that the Jags needed corner and wide receiver help among the things they're looking to supplement, you would suspect, in the NFL draft. Now, you can look at it one way, like, oh, they got Diggs. We need definitely that makes the corner the top priority. Or they got Diggs. We got to keep up the arms race with the wide receiver position. Does it change the calculus for you at all, what these division opponents are doing? Like a single move. Obviously, you know, Tom Coughlin built the Jags to beat the Steelers in the 90s, right? But that was starting from the ground up. Does this move or any other single move change the calculus that much? Like, are the Jags looking at things differently today than they did yesterday?
I don't think so. I think when you look at where the Jaguars are, I did a 53-man projection for 1010XL.com a few days ago, and just to kind of get a sense of like, okay, let's let's take a look at what the 53 might look like if they had to cut it today, and get a sense of really what are needs and what maybe aren't as big a needs. And the biggest takeaway I got from doing that exercise is the second guy I named at corner is Ronald Darby.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So, to me, it's corner at 17 makes a ton of sense for them. It has nothing to do with the Diggs deal. Frankly, I don't even think the Diggs deal is that good of a deal for Houston. But in terms, so it's not any sort of reaction. I just think in looking at what the Jaguars currently have, it's not good, and it needs to be upgraded at corner. So, I think, taking a corner at 17 makes all the sense in the world, particularly if Arnold or Mitchell are there.
Hayes, you already said that you'd be willing to trade up for Marvin Harrison specifically in this draft. But if they are sticking at 17, how would you rank the wide receivers and corners that you expect to be available when the Jags go on the clock there?
Yeah, I would say it plays out that they'll go corner at 17 because I think Arnold or Mitchell will be there. There is a chance that both are gone. If that's the case, then I would pivot and look at look who's fallen, because if you do have the quarterbacks go plus 2 corners, then that's going to push somebody to 17 that a heck of a talent, and so that may change things. Obviously, the first thing I'd look at is Brian Thomas still there, and so I might go receiver at 17 and then go corner at 48. So I think it would start with is Terry and Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell available at 17. If they are not, the other corners in that range, I don't love there at 17. So I'd probably at that point be willing to drop back to 48 before I addressed corner. I still think they can get a good one. And look, I'm starting to see mocks where Jared Verse is going in the 20s. If Jared Verse is there at 17, I would do cartwheels to turn that card in.
Over a corner?
I would not over. I don't think I would take him over Arnold or Mitchell. Okay. But if those two guys are gone, but Verse is there, then I would take Verse. And I think about it. I think there's more depth at corner and receiver. So if Verse was there, I don't think he will be. I'm surprised that, to see a couple of mocks that came out just in the last day or two that had him going in the 20s.
Yeah, me too.
I don't understand that, but I could certainly understand if you take Verse at 17. Okay, now you've got your supplemental edge help and the freedom to play Trayvon more inside if you choose to, and then obviously at 48, there's going to be a corner or a receiver that would make a ton of sense, and even at the comp third, there's going to be a corner or a receiver that would make sense. So I think you could certainly justify taking Verse at 17 and then going corner at 48 and receiver help it with that late third.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say you think that corner holds up better than receiver, right? Tony Pauline we had on yesterday, most recently with Sportskeeda, said that he thinks the fall-off is much greater at corner going from 17 to 48. Like, you're more likely to get an impact receiver if you go that route. That he would, if it's a choice, if that's the only choice, he would go the corner route at 17 likely. And again, we don't know exactly who's going to be available. What about like the wild cards? Because I could see a guy like Verse falling, Hayes, simply because there is so much growing talk of 5 quarterbacks in the top, 13 picks. Like if the Raiders take one. So you're talking about all it takes is 12 guys to get to pick 17 then that you might be interested in. And, you're talking about in a lot of years you'd be taking a borderline top 10 player there. So what about a wild card like Brock Bowers? Is that just too much of a luxury if the Jags selected him?
I liked it initially if he fell, because, again, particularly for this franchise, let's just get the pick right. Let's just make sure we're getting the pick right. And, I think Brock Bowers is one of the safer players in this draft if that exists. And so, I think you add Brock Bowers, you're probably adding a very productive player. The issue I think is it's just hard to justify that much investment at the tight end position. You're obviously paying Evan Ingram. You invested a second-round pick in Brenton Strange. So to then add Bowers to that, I'm not saying it would be a non-starter for me, but it'd be probably tough at this point to get me to come around on taking him there, depending on the board would have to be pretty decimated in a way in which I don't think it's going to be. But, you know, in looking at it, I would always come back to this. We need to get the pick right. I mean, first and foremost, let's make sure we're getting the pick right. And I don't think whoever takes Brock Bowers is going to be disappointed in the results that he gives them. So there's something to be said for, well, look, it may not be a huge need, but I do think this is somebody that's going to be an excellent NFL player. And why not go ahead and add him to our roster? I mean, Evan Ingram isn't going to be here forever. And, you know, Brenton Strange hasn't done anything. So I could come around on it, but the board would have to fall in a very unique way, I think, for me to look at that as the best option.
Hayes, we've had a lot of discussion so far on the show today about Trent Baalke and the job that he's done since he became the GM here in Jacksonville, but specifically in this offseason, a lot of fans expressing their lack of enthusiasm would be a good word for what they expect to happen here in a few weeks in the draft. But what kind of grade would you give Trent Baalke overall for his time here as the GM of the Jags?
I'd say like a B-, you know, something like that. I think free agency's done a really nice job. Obviously, there isn't as much guesswork with that because these players have been playing in the league, and so it's really just are you willing to pay them money that no one else is? And so the degree of difficulty is lower in free agency, but he has done a nice job with that. You know, I think the drafts have been, you know, hit or miss. I mean, you're obviously he's not going to hit on every pick. No one hits on every pick. So, you know, some of this is when I hear criticism of Trent Baalke and really any general manager, it sometimes it almost feels like fans are expecting. It's almost like expecting a baseball player to bat 400. Well, no one's going to do that. Like no one bats 400. So, you know, I mean, now you can certainly complain if he's batting 240, but
not these days.
Right.
Seen some of these averages, man.
Yeah, good point. So I mean, I think in looking at, you know, I mean, again, if you look at like last year's draft and it's super early, I mean, you do have what looks like a really high-end player in Anton Harrison. I mean, that's important. You know, yes, you'd like to see more out of Strange and Bigsby, and hopefully that happens. And some of those mid to late guys, you know, continue to develop and give you good production down the road, like Antonio Johnson. But I think my biggest problem with Trent is just the lack of personal skills, the lack of leadership at times, and that's something that it's never going to change. He is who he is. He's too old to become somebody else. I mean, it's unfair to expect that of him. But, you know, to not call Josh Allen 2.5 weeks after the season has ended, after the season that he gave you, and this is just one of 1,000 examples, but I just think there's times where you can let your sword down and embrace the team and the family, and, you know, somebody did something extraordinary for us and I want to reward them. I don't want to have some painstaking negotiation with them. I want to reward them and I want to get it done. And he's just not wired like that. You know, everything with him is a complete cutthroat business decision. And I get it. He's under a lot of pressure, but I just think that there's a human element to his job that is lacking. And, you know, and then to get up there when you finally do talk and when you're asked a question about something that was certainly a front office mistake and be like, well, I don't live in the past. I mean, you can't lead like that. And so I think when you look at his moves are fine. I mean, I don't think he's sensational. I don't think he's putrid, but it's the manner in which he conducts his job that I think at times is really frustrating, because in the Josh Allen example is the most recent one and the most galling one. That deal should have been done. I mean, should have been done. I mean, I get it. You don't want to negotiate in season. That's fine. That's totally your right. But when the season's over, man, you got to kickstart those negotiations. You got to make him feel like, you know, he is a top priority. And that just didn't happen, and it was really disappointing.
So we'll end with this, and it's an ever-changing target. But when or if do you think an extension gets done with Josh?
Well, I think I've told you guys this. If I was Josh Allen, I wouldn't do a deal with them. I would say you've had your chance, and I'll play on the tag, and then if you want to tag me next year at an even higher cost, fine. Or you can let me test the market where I'll get obviously a really, really attractive deal. So, I think the team has kind of lost their leverage. But again, that's just my way of looking at it. I'm not saying it won't happen, but if I was Josh Allen, if I was representing him, I'd say play on the tag. Play on the tag.
And he may. I would just disagree that he's got all the leverage here because, the Jags could go, okay, we can tag you next year. And if you think you're going to be making $30+ million on average, and maybe you will, well, we're paying you $24 this year and $28 next year, and you take on all the injury risk, 100% of it, So, I'm not saying that's the ideal scenario, but I don't think, Josh, you're going to be locked in for 2 years, and during that time, if you get hurt, you're not going to get that big payday. I don't know if that gives him 100% of the leverage, in my opinion. So
I think it does, just because they've already. Again, what kind of injury? If he can, it's a career-ending injury, then yeah. But how often do we see that? It's pretty rare. Even if Josh Allen tore his ACL in week 2, and they didn't tag him, he'd still get honey of a deal.
You think he'd get $30 million coming off a torn ACL?
31 other clubs bidding on a pass rusher who's 26, 27. Yeah, I think he'd get a lot of money.
Maybe.
Again, I'm sure Josh just wants to get the deal done. So my hope is that he gets the deal done this summer and is here. I think that would be best for the franchise. But I think they've dragged this along so far now. If I was Josh Allen's camp, I'd be like, let's see if they'll tag you again.
And I bet they would. Quite frankly, I don't think there's much of a question in my mind that they're not going to let Josh Allen walk next offseason, provided he doesn't completely collapse, and put up a 3.5 sack season or something.
They're going to have some if they elect to tag him again next year, with the contracts that they're going to have. I agree with you that you have to do it because
right, and that's the thing.
How do you let him?
It's
walk?
not ideal.
But boy, but that complicates what you want to do in a big way. So I think they missed the boat. I think the deal should have been done, right after the season ended. I don't blame him for not doing it before last season. You were still kind of figuring out what he was, but when he rewrites your record book, and then I understand not doing it in season because you don't want to distract him. But man, the second that season was over and the collapse, I just was shocked that wasn't a much bigger priority for Trent Baalke to get that deal done and have that day of celebration and feel good about the direction of your club. And again, obviously that set off a chain of dominoes that, taken the off season and, in some ways an unexpected path because obviously by not doing the deal with Josh Allen, you couldn't tag Ridley. So anyway, I thought it was I think they've done well to get Mitch Morse and Eric Armstead. So I think that there have been some good things that have happened this offseason. But boy, I thought it got off to a really rough start.
Hayes, we appreciate it as always, and thank you for lending your time and opinions. 3 weeks out, I'm sure we'll do this a couple more times before the NFL draft gets here, but we can catch Hayes as we do every afternoon with Frank Frangie, now at 4 p.m. on the Frangie Show here on 1010XL and at Hayes Carlyon, Carlyon, on social media. Hayes, thanks for the time, buddy.
Thanks, gentlemen. Take care.
All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back and take a look at today's poll question and some comments on what Hayes had to say right there. I think he expressed his opinions quite eloquently as we get ready to wrap up Jaguars Today straight ahead on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Studios.
JOI, where the pros go. Here's 1010XL's new lineup.
We're sending you back to the future.
Buckle up! Dan and Jeff in the morning. Mike and Tony 10 to noon. Mia, Lauren and Taylor noon to 2. Joe, Matt and Leon 2 to 4. Frank and Hayes 4 to 6. And Rick and Hacker in the evening.
We invite you now to listen.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet have just received a special allocation of new vehicles directly from the factory. Not 10, not 20, but hundreds of new vehicles with special savings that haven't been seen in years. Every new vehicle available in your favorite color and option as far as the eye can see. Plus, get our exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty with every new car purchase. Hurry to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville before the best deals are gone.
Lauren Brooks here from Mayport C&C Fisheries. Growing up at the beach, I know good shrimp and oysters when I see them. They're local and they're fresh. That's why Mayport C&C Fisheries is my go-to for both. They have local shrimp in stock 7 days a week. Eat like a local at Mayport C&C Fisheries.
This is Joe C. from XL Primetime and stoked to crank up the 9 after 5 once again at the Golf Club of Southampton. Every Wednesday, a little after 5, the gang at Southampton will be hosting us with a new game, and I'm inviting you to be a part of it. Now, through the summer stretch, break up the week with a little hump day fun every Wednesday. Call 287-PLAY to get on the tee sheet. There'll be food afterwards and prizes, including playing for a membership at the Golf Club of Southampton. Call 287-PLAY and hit the tee with Joe C.
Bueller Air Conditioning presents Are You Cool?
Today's lucky contestant, a cheese negotiator from Jacksonville, Florida. Meet Margaret Drent.
How do you like my costume, Bob? I'm Gruyere.
Well, you smell great, Margaret. But here's your question. What's wrong with your air conditioner when you hear this sound?
Oh, that's a toughie. Are you sure you don't want me to tell you the suggested retail price of a box of Rice-A-Roni?
5 seconds, Margaret.
Is it a compressor motor starter failure?
That's right, Margaret. And if you call the coolness experts at Bueller Air Conditioning, we can fix that faulty AC to make sure that you are cool.
It's surprisingly stuffy inside a giant cheese.
You signed the waiver, Margaret.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and B&B Fuel and Lubricants.
Dave Binion here with my son Ammon, who is the air duct cleaning manager at Zero Res. So Ammon, you may notice a little rattle in my voice and some puffiness in my eyes. That's because allergy season is coming on. Can Zero Res help?
Yes, your health has a lot to do with the air you breathe. A clean and healthy home begins with clean air. At Zero Res, we can help clean the air in your home by cleaning your air ducts, cleaning the coils in your HVAC units, and fogging the system with a powerful antimicrobial that helps kill and control the growth of microorganisms in your air. We also have options for maintaining your clean air with our excellent inline air purifier and UV lights that will help keep your system clean and healthy. At Zero Res, we are more than just air duct cleaners. We're a clean air specialist.
Have Zero Res air duct specialists out, and right now we'll give you $50 off your air duct cleaning, and while we're at it, we'll give you $50 off your dryer vent cleaning. Zero Res.
Spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
Let's clear out winter and clean up the lawn with Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. Right now, get the Ryobi One Plus leaf blower for just $89 and make your lawn work easier with a powerful 90 miles an hour of clearing power. Plus, you can buy it online and pick it up in store, getting you outside sooner. Get your yard spring ready with the Ryobi One Plus leaf blower, now just $89 during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. See store at homedepot.com/delivery for details.
Breaking news, Jacksonville. Play It Again Sports is back. We are proud to be opening a brand new store on Merrill Road, but we need your help. We are currently stocking up and we need your gently used sports and fitness equipment. Play It Again Sports offers cash on the spot for all your used gear. We buy baseball, softball, football, hockey, lacrosse, golf, water sports. You name it, we buy it. Turn that gear into cash at Play It Again Sports Jacksonville on Merrill Road near 295 in the Merrill Station Shopping Plaza.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Rotator cuff tears are the most common overhead injuries I see. In order to avoid shoulder issues, make sure not to overload the front of the shoulder while also focusing on developing good scapular strength and maintaining flexibility in your lats. Proper hydration, nutrition, and supplementation are also crucial to joint and muscle health. Go Jag.
What a great way to start spring with a cigar tasting from Perdomo Cigars. Join Tobacco Cove Saturday, April 6th from 1 to 4 p.m. for a tasting extravaganza featuring Perdomo cigars handmade in Esteli, Nicaragua. With food, drinks, and specials on cigars, this is a great way to become acquainted with the quality and value that is Perdomo Cigars. Tobacco Cove on Bay Meadows Road. We are more than a cigar store. We are an experience.
Looking to make a great impression? Dylan Denmark here, folks, and when I want to score big, I send flowers or a plant from Jacksonville's best, Kuhn Flowers. Yeah, man, it's always a good thing to send someone a Kuhn floral arrangement, KuhnFlowers.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, coming down the stretch here on Jaguars Today, XL primetime later in the afternoon, as we've now got helmets and heels ensconced from noon to 2, and Foye Oluokun going to join the ladies at 12:30 in studio for that. So be listening coming up in about 45 minutes for Foye right here live on 1010XL. Tone, we have different guests on, different hosts join us, guys like Hayes, and you want to get their opinions. You don't want to turn it into necessarily a complete back and forth because we know what our opinions are. We got 2 hours to express them. We want to hear what Hayes has to say, and sometimes we'll give a little pushback. Other times we won't because we want to get a lot of things in and don't want to get too far afield. The one thing that I'm listening towards the end on the Josh Allen thing, and have the Jags blown it at this point? I don't feel that way. I don't feel like they're at a point of no return with Josh Allen. Hayes said he understood them not getting a deal done last offseason. So did I. You didn't know. Was he a 17.5 sack guy? He clearly wasn't before then. Okay. He doesn't have a problem with them not negotiating during the season. Okay, that's their philosophy. Okay, you can debate that either way, but okay. So you're good getting to the offseason. Did Trent Baalke not calling Josh Allen mean if Trent Baalke dropped a bag in front of Josh Allen, he's not going to pick that bag up?
Right.
I don't think that's the case. As I do think it's significant if you sit there and know you're going to get below what you think your market value is for the next 2 years, and you do take on the injury risk. That second year is not even guaranteed to you. That is a chip that's in Trent Baalke's column. Hey, I can do that. And by the way, you go draft Jared Verse at 17, potentially. Now, does that some of the dynamic change if they don't add edge rush? I'm not saying they should be looking to replace Josh Allen, by the way. I want him to have him here, but I think I don't know what he's asking for. That's the other thing, right? Did his price go up $5 million because Trent Baalke didn't call him immediately? Oh, if it did, then too bad. I'm not paying you $5 million for your hurt feelings. Right. If that's the case, what's fair is fair. I don't know what's fair. I don't know what Trent's offering, and if that's fair, I don't know what Josh is asking for, and if that's fair, I'd like to see a deal get done. And I'm certainly not
know what's being offered.
I'm not of the opinion that this is just over, that Josh is never going to sign again with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It seems to be, I think, where Hayes is at on this, and that's his prerogative, and he may be right. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten any easier to figure out exactly where everyone stands on all of it, right? I do think from Josh's side that I'd be saying, look, Burns just got 30. Offer me 31 and let's move on with our lives, right? I could understand from Josh's side that being where he comes to the Jags and says, this is what I'm looking for. And I can understand the Jags saying, 31, I don't think we can make that work, right? When, Danielle Hunter's getting 24.5 a year. From Houston. But, we talked about that a lot going into the decision as to whether or not they'd have to use the franchise tag on Josh's. How do these other 2 contracts look with these 2 players? Well, now we know what that looks like. And, the Giants are willing to pay $30 million a year and give up draft picks to get Burns, right? They were willing to do both. So if I'm Josh, I'm saying 31, let's make it happen. And I can understand the team still saying, I don't know. We could do the franchise tag this year, and if we do the franchise tag again next year, we're not paying you that, right? Like if that's the direction we wind up going.
We'd be paying you 26 for the next 2 years.
Right. Like I can understand
and getting
the team.
The best probably 2 years of your career out of you.
Right, being slow to do that kind of thing. And as I've said throughout this entire process, I'm willing to be more aggressive in getting that offer to Josh Allen and getting him to say yes. Like that's what I want. I want the team to make an offer that gets Josh Allen to say yes. And if $31 million is what it's going to take to get that done, I'm fine with making that offer. But again, like we were talking about earlier with the, reacting to the question of the day and would you be willing to give up this to get to a Dunze, right, at 9? And I said, yes. I don't think it's unreasonable to be on the side that says, no, I don't want to give up 17 and the guard I can get in the second round, right? Like I don't think that's crazy to say, that's too much for me, right? If someone has that opinion about it. And it feels like right now, based on what we've seen happen so far in the Josh Allen thing, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh is asking for that. His camp is asking for something in that range, right? $30 million plus a year. And the Jags to this point are like, we wouldn't have to pay that if we franchise you the next couple of years. What can we do to make this work?
Right.
Where everyone's
for everybody.
Like, I don't think it's crazy that would be the situation that they're in.
And you say, and I understand your point of view, you want the Jags to put a deal in front of them that he'll say yes to. Okay, yeah. I can put a deal in front of Josh and say yes to, and you fire me the next day. Right?
Sure.
I mean, I could put a ridiculous number on a piece of paper and he'd say yes.
Yeah, I think the other two deals getting done, specifically the Burns deal getting done, gives you a better idea of what you can offer.
The Burns deal, by the way, is $28 a year.
Yeah.
It's not 30. But
so
that
30.
matters.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe, for all we know, they're offering him 30.
Right. We don't know what anyone's offering anybody.
If you're franchise tagging him at 24, I don't think it's that hard of a leap to think you might offer him 30 on an annual average with the chance to lower that cap figure in year one.
Makes sense.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
And one day when the book comes out. All right. Here's our question of the day presented by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. Which of these scenarios would you prefer for the Jags in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft? Tony, trade into the top 10, take best cornerback, take best wide receiver, or something else for you?
I'd land on trade into the top 10, I think.
Okay.
It'd be close between that and take the best cornerback at 17.
And keep in mind, this is presuming these prices are right. We said to get to 9, it would cost you your first and second round pick.
Yeah.
Like, to me, Marvin Harrison Jr., as good as he may be, I don't think he's right now, sight unseen. Is he worth my first, second, and my first next year?
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a lot, bro. That's a hell of a lot for a team that still has holes. That is an awful lot.
Yeah.
Do you think he's the finishing piece that makes you a Super Bowl champion?
It's a steep price. And
maybe
honestly,
you do.
For me, it would be more in that trading to 9 range.
I totally get it. I'm just talking about the people that have expressed the interest in swinging
light
big.
Of, again, the question that was asked earlier about would you make that trade to go up and get a Dunze, say at 9, or trade 17 for Ayuk, right? Like that's the way you asked it earlier in the show. And I think if those were the options I was given, I'd rather make the trade to go get a Dunze.
But that keeps your second or your first round pick next year still in your pocket.
It does. It keeps my first round pick in my pocket, and that doesn't introduce the stay at 17 and get the corner. Am I more comfortable doing that? It's close. Like in my mind, it's close between trading to 9 to go get a Dunze and staying at 17 and getting the top corner.
All right, my preference is something else. Honestly, and I don't have a problem with a bold move. If you get a good guy, the guy better be the right guy. I just think now I don't know. I'm going to guess that Terry Arnold and Quinion Mitchell are both off the board at 17. Quite frankly, and so to me, something else is probably a small trade back and pick up a third round pick or a fourth and a fifth, something like that.
Yeah.
Get me more swings at it. There are plenty of guys that get picked at corner and wide receiver in the middle rounds that if you could get a freebie, right, for moving back 2 or 3 spots and still getting a really good player and what should be a target-rich environment for the Jags at 17, there may be 6 guys that we'd love at 17 available. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I think all these are viable. I'm not going to be upset outright if they don't do what I want them to do. I just want them to get it right, whatever they do. If you take corner, fine. Take the right corner. Even if it's Wiggins, who I don't want, let me be wrong. I'd rather be wrong and you be right about it than say, see, I told you.
Yeah.
Nate Wiggins, too skinny. and which I'm in that camp where I worry about the weight. Traded in the top 10, getting 39% of the vote. Take best corner at 17, getting 33% of the vote. Some people had the nuance to say, hey, look, I'm voting kind of something else here, like best player available, because I'm only going for one of those two corners at 17. And if I'm not sure, I'm not taking just the next best corner there. That makes sense.
Okay.
15% said take best wide receiver there. And then 13% roughly said something else. And that would include any other scenario. Slight trade up, slight trade back, take another position, take pure best player available, which could end up being a corner or a wide receiver. But you're not locked into that. If you thought the edge rusher was the best guy, you'd be taking him at that spot, for instance. So anyway, just another way of looking at what will become a what do they do at 17 question after the NFL draft is completed.
3 weeks.
3 weeks till we get this thing underway. Foye Oluwakin coming in studio in about 35 minutes, so stick around for Helmets and Heels coming up next. That'll do it for us today. Tom McManus in studio with us tomorrow on the program. For Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Thank you for listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville